coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
So here you are, you're retired. And the question is, how much can you pull out of your nest egg every year and still expect your money to last? It's a different world. It's a different world. So you can't use answers that worked 20 years ago today. Today you've got to have new answers.
And then the other thing that comes to mind is not only just you're looking at your income, you're looking at your risk, but then another topic that comes in as far as taxes and what role taxes play in retirement.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. We've got a great show lined up for you this week. We are talking about what we would call life cycle or lifestyle investing. And what am I really talking about? It's really simple. Today we're going to talk about how at different times in your life, you should be investing in different ways. I know, that's crazy talk, right? That's crazy. No, it's common sense. But why are we talking about it? Well, I'll tell you why we're talking about it. Because every day, someone just like you comes to the office. In fact, not someone, but multiple someones come into the office every day, and it's like they've forgotten about this very simple thinking process when it comes to their investments. And I don't want you to be like them. I want you to make smart choices about your retirement planning. I don't want you to mess it up. And a lot of times these folks are coming in because they want that second opinion we talk about. But gosh darn it, it's like, wow, whatever happened to this idea that when you're at different stages of life, you should be investing a little bit differently? Whatever happened to that? Because we don't see it. Everybody seems to be investing the same way, like they're in growth mode. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. When you are working, here, great example. My daughter, Sarah, my oldest daughter. I have 5 kids. Sarah's my oldest. She works with us in the office. She is 23 years old. She's just starting to save money for retirement. It was really cool because I as a dad, her first year working, I helped her get a Roth IRA going, and I helped her contribute to it just to get her in the habit of saving, right? And you know why I used a Roth IRA for, right? Because of course that's tax-free. We love that phrase here at Retiring Well. In any event, she's 23. What kind of investments do you think I encouraged her to put her money into? Well, clearly, growth investments. In other words, we built a portfolio, a little portfolio for her that's designed to grow because she's 23. She's got 40 years in front of her before she retires, if even then. So in other words, she's young and she's trying to grow. And then what happens? Let's fast forward a little bit. Let's say it's 10 years from now and she's 33, or 20 years from now and she's 43. She's still in growth and accumulation mode. Her job, build the portfolio so that someday she has enough money set aside that she can sit back and let her money work for her versus her working for her money, right? That's the idea. But now, let's shift away from my daughter. Let's talk a little bit about you. What if you are 53 or maybe 63? Or 73? What if you're getting close to retirement? What if you're already in retirement? How does that change how you should invest your money? Does it change how you should invest your money? Well, I want you to do this for just a minute in your mind. Think about my daughter. What are her goals? Goal, grow the portfolio. That's it. No other goal. Just grow the money because she wants to retire someday, right? But now think about you. What if you're retired? What if you're getting close to retirement? What are your goals now? Is it just grow, grow, grow? No, it's not, because think about it. Think about the day you retire. That day. You retire that day, let's pretend it's today. You retire today. Let's pretend for just a minute that when you retire today, you are given a big pile of cash. It's not invested in anything. You've got to start from scratch. What are you investing in? Well, in order to determine that, you first have to identify your goal. Is your goal just growth now? No. It's probably, here's my big pile of cash. I got to protect it because it's all I've got for the rest of my life. And, well, I'm not going to be adding to it anymore. I probably need to take some income out, so I need to do some distributions. And in doing all that, I still want to grow a little bit. The goals are different. Doesn't it make sense that the portfolio should be invested differently? Of course it does. Yet, it never seems to happen that way. All right, don't want you going anywhere because coming up, we're going to go into this in more detail and hopefully we'll give you some guidance on how you can make some smart choices for your retirement planning.
The new Trump tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands on your IRA. Learn how to take advantage of the new law at a dinner evening with your Retiring Well TV hosts from Centennial Wealth Advisory. This is a no-cost, information-only, no-pressure event with a fine dining experience you won't soon forget. Important topics we'll discuss are 3 ways to use the new tax code to move money into tax-free accounts at reduced rates, hidden tax-related pitfalls that most advisors are missing, the importance of managing risk, and the effect of volatility on your retirement savings. The #1 mistake most Americans are making with their retirement accounts. Are you one of them? And much more. Dinner is on us, and there is absolutely no obligation. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that is most convenient for you. Tuesday, June 12th, or Thursday, June 14th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Tuesday, June 19th at the Otsego Club and Resort in Gaylord. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important presentation and learn how the new tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Retirement represents a fundamental change in your life. Yet most retirees don't match that with a fundamental change in their portfolios.
Centennial Wealth Advisory's core services are built around lifetime retirement income, fully integrated tax reduction strategies, and portfolio stability.
Contact us today for a complimentary, no-obligation initial meeting. We'd be happy to learn about your vision of retirement and to share our insight with you.
Hi, this week in Chalk Talk, we're going to dive into this topic known as safe withdrawal rates. Now, we're talking about life cycle investing, and what I'm really talking about here is the time when you're retired. So here you are, you're retired, and the question is, how much can you pull out of your nest egg every year and still expect your money to last? So this is a concept that really started coming up in the forefront when the baby boomers started retiring in the late 90s and early 2000s. And back in the 90s, there was a very famous study done. And it said, and what they did is they looked back over the history of the markets and they said, well, here, let's calculate how much a person could withdraw from their portfolio every year and increase it with inflation and know that they're going to be okay. And so when they first started doing this, it was back in say 2000. So let's say you retired in 2000. And they were doing this study and they say, well, the last 20 years from 1980 to 2000, stocks have earned about 14% per year on average. And in 2000, if you were retiring then, bonds were paying 6%. All right, you got a stock market earning double digits, you've got bonds paying 6%, and so the question was, how in a typical portfolio, and when we say typical portfolio, basically we're talking a 60-40 portfolio. 60% in the stock market, 40% in the bond market, maybe 50-50, but a balanced portfolio. You got 60% up here, 40% down here. How much can you withdraw every year and then increase it with inflation, where you know, okay, this is a safe withdrawal rate. I know my money's going to last. Well, here's what the answer was. 4 to 5%. Yeah, that's it. 4 to 5%. I would have thought it'd been a bigger number, wouldn't you? But the reality is they said, if you're going to increase your distributions with inflation, that's all you can pull. Because here's the thing. We know that's going to be pretty steady, but this guy, you're all over the place. You might be up, you might be down, and when you have all this volatility going on the stock side of things, you can't be pulling out as much. So 4 to 5% was the answer. So what does that mean? What would that mean to you? If you retire with $1 million, you can pull $40,000, $50,000 the first year. Next year, increase that a little bit with inflation. Next year, increase that a little bit with inflation, and so on. And if you pulled out those numbers, they said that you had like a 90-some% chance that your money would last for a 30-year retirement. Okay? There you go. Make sense? All right. My, how things have changed. Because now here we are in 2018. And if you look at the stock market, you say, well, how's it done the past 20 years? It's not 14%, is it? It's actually closer to 8%. And bonds, boy, they aren't paying 6% anymore. Wouldn't it be great if they were? But they're not. They're paying 3%. So what is a safe withdrawal rate if you're retiring in this environment? Is it still 4 to 5%, do you think? Not even close. In fact, studies tell us that the safe withdrawal rate today, 2 to 3%. That's it. That's not very much, is it? So here's the problem. If all you do with your financial planning is just deal with the traditional stock, bond, mutual fund mix, that's all you can expect to take. If you deal with a retirement planning specialist, someone like what we do, we can still get this number today. You just have to go outside the realm of what you're used to a little bit. 4 to 5, 2 to 3, that's a big difference, folks. You got to make sure you get this right.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The 3 big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, June 13th and June 20th at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Hi, I'm sitting here with Larry Flynn. Thanks for being here, Larry.
Thank you, Mike.
He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And folks, as you may know by now, we certainly invite you to come visit with us. It's absolutely free to get a second opinion on your retirement planning. And I think it's important to get a second opinion from someone who's a specialist when it comes to retirement planning. And Larry, I'm sure they're wondering, if they pick up the phone and they call and come visit with you, what can they expect? What's that experience like?
Well, Mike, they can expect not to get hard sold, okay? We're going to greet them warmly. We're going to sit down and talk to them a little bit about maybe their story, where they're from, where they grew up, how they met their spouse, what they're dreaming of doing once they get soon to be retired or retired.
Kind of what are their goals, right?
Yeah, what are your goals? We're going to talk to them a little bit about who we are, what we do, show them how we do things, especially dealing in the market realities we find ourselves in today.
Got it. So essentially, they're coming in, you're learning a little bit about what's important to them, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. I'm sure you're taking a look at what they're doing so far. You maybe share a little bit about you, and it's just in a very relaxed atmosphere.
That's right.
And there's no cost to do this. Is that correct?
No cost. No cost.
All right. So, folks, there you go. I mean, it sounds very simple, very easy, very laid back. There's no reason for you not to just pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, come visit us, get that second opinion. You'd be glad that you did. Welcome back. Just in Chalk Talk in our last segment, we were talking about this concept of safe withdrawal rates. It's a big deal. And we were talking about, how much money can you really pull out of your portfolio while you're retired, but still have reasonable expectation that your money will last, right? So now what we want to do is we want to dive into some more details, and we want to ask the question here, can bonds be an answer here? Can bonds be an answer for you to help you with that distribution phase? Because remember, we're not in growth and accumulation phase anymore. Now that we're retired, we're talking about the distribution phase, where it's principal protection. It's distribution, protecting, preserving, and taking income. Right? That's the phase that we're in. Completely different ballgame. So in the past, bonds were a great answer. I mean, think about this. My parents retired January 1, 2000. Do you know that in 2000, you could go out and get 10-year government bonds paying you, over 6%? You could get 30-year government bonds probably paying 7%. I mean, think about that for a minute. Just think about that for a minute. Imagine that you're sitting on $1 million, right? That'd be cool, right? So here you are, you have $1 million. You're thinking, well, gosh, I really only need about 50 grand a year of income, 5%. But I do want to protect it. I want to grow it over time. What if you could get a 30-year government bond paying you 7%? A government bond where it's just guaranteed. I mean, think about this. You could take, well, gosh, if I do the math, you got $1 million, you take about 700,000 of it and just buy 30-year government bonds. And that would give you your 50 grand of income, boom, guaranteed for the next 30 years. How much longer are you going to live in retirement? 30 years? That works out pretty good, doesn't it? But you're thinking, well, wait a minute, that's not quite good enough because, well, I need to, there's inflation, right? And I've got 50 today, but I might need 55 in a couple years, or maybe 60 or something. So I need to have some kind of inflation hedge out there as well. But hey, good news, you still have 300,000 of your million left. So couldn't you take that 300,000 left and invest it in some conservative growth portfolio? And I mean, boom, you're done. Retirement planning, easy peasy. Now, the problem, of course, is I was a financial advisor back in 2000. How many people do you think wanted 30-year government bonds paying 7% a year? I mean, today's world, we would be fantastic. How fast can I sign up? But back in those days, when the stock market's earning 15% a year and better, people would be sitting there going, what? You're telling me you think I should tie up my money for 30 years to get 7%? What, are you crazy? I mean, 7%, that's nothing. That's what they said back in those days. Don't you want some of those days back? Anyway, the point is, easy answer. Just use some government bonds, use some conservative growth. Your retirement is done and set. How does that compare to today? What are 30-year government bonds paying today? Well, the answer is it's not 7% anymore. It's more like 3%. 10-year bonds are paying more like 2%. It's not, things just don't work out the same when they're only paying 2 and 3%. I mean, you got that $1 million, you could put all of it in those bonds and only get $30,000 a year. So can bonds be an answer? Probably not. And by the way, there's all kinds of other issues with bonds, like if interest rates rise, bond values fall, and your principal's not protected as well. And yeah, they're just not. It's a different world. It's a different world. So you can't use, you can't use answers that worked 20 years ago today. Today you've got to have new answers. You have to have. It's a whole different ballgame. And this is why planning or investing during your retirement years, it's a lot tougher job than it's ever been. And you need to look outside of the normal stock, bond, mutual fund approach. You'll notice, by the way, if you ever come to us and you look at it, get a second opinion, you'll notice we're talking about things like alternatives. You'll notice we're looking at different annuities, because you need to use different solutions. You need different tools, different solutions, because we live in a different environment. Everybody's different when it comes to retirement planning. That's why we offer that second opinion, so we can help you look at smart choices for your retirement income planning.
The new Trump tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands on your IRA. Learn how to take advantage of the new law at a dinner evening with your Retiring Well TV hosts from Centennial Wealth Advisory. This is a no-cost, information-only, no-pressure event with a fine dining experience you won't soon forget. Important topics we'll discuss are 3 ways to use the new tax code to move money into tax-free accounts at reduced rates, hidden tax-related pitfalls that most advisors are missing, the importance of managing risk and the effect of volatility on your retirement savings, the #1 mistake most Americans are making with their retirement accounts. Are you one of them? And much more. Dinner is on us, and there is absolutely no obligation. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that is most convenient for you. Tuesday, June 12th, or Thursday, June 14th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Tuesday, June 19th at the Otsego Club and Resort in Gaylord. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important presentation and learn how the new tax code opens the window to potentially saving thousands. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hi, thanks again for joining us. My name is Larry Flynn, and this is John Torbett. We're both here advisors at Centennial Wealth. And interesting, this subject that Mike is talking about regarding this growth and accumulation phase of somebody's life, and then this preservation of wealth and income phase of somebody's life. I mean, they're really two different things, aren't they, John?
Oh yeah, definitely. And when you're looking at it as far as from a financial perspective, people are getting to that stage where they're getting close to retirement, and it's definitely a major change in their life, but it also should be reflected in their retirement savings. Don't you agree?
I agree. He talked about this, what you call a safe withdrawal rate, this amount by which you could take from a portfolio. I mean, how many times do we get asked that by a client? All right, I've saved up this nest egg. Yeah. Okay, now I recognize now it's supposed to become income for me. Yep. How much can I take out, right?
Right, and that's where we always say when structured properly, and that's probably a whole nother topic, but as far as when we look at that, if you're staying away from major volatility, we usually look in that 4, maybe 5% range, and that might be higher than you may read in some of the articles out there, but a lot of those articles are also talking about you taking on a vast amount of risk with your portfolio, and that's where we talk about when you're in that growth and accumulation, you're shifting to preservation and income, you want to reduce that volatility or that risk in the portfolio.
Right. We should probably educate them a little bit on that rule, right? Yeah. We used to call it the 4 or 5% rule for the longest time, right? and it really came out of the 80s and 90s. Wasn't that the concept was not brain surgery. It was basically if the portfolio can grow 5, 6, 7% every year and consistently, and you're taking 4 or 5%, well, that works all day long, right?
Sure.
Right?
And then the other thing that comes to mind is not only just you're looking at your income, you're looking at your risk, but then another topic that comes in as far as taxes and what role taxes play in retirement, and understanding, okay, if I'm going to be drawing this money out of typically 401k IRA money that hasn't been taxed yet, you know, there's going to be an impact on that. So you want to be careful and have a plan set in place to understand what impact that's going to have.
I think viewers need to be very careful that when we talk about this 4 or 5% rule, right, that Morningstar did analysis, and with the recent volatility that we've had in the last decade and a half, and interest rates being at all-time lows, that safe withdrawal rate for what, a 50% stock, 50% bond portfolio is now, I think it's been as low as 1.7%, right? So when you talk about this being structured properly, that's a big deal. Right? That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's vital. And I mean, a lot of times what we find, it seems, when we talk to folks, they don't want to take on as much risk, but they feel sometimes almost that they have to. And I think, unfortunately, that's where they may have been misled a little bit by advisors sort of saying you got to take on a great amount of risk to get these returns. And a lot of times they don't necessarily have to. And a lot of times they don't need to. I think that's the biggest thing, is if you can just maybe consistently get in that 4 or 5% return range, you could make sure that money outlives you. So.
Now, don't you find when we primarily work with soon-to-be retired or retired, but how many times do we have a lot of those clients as kids coming in wanting to talk to us about investing? And the conversation really is different, isn't it? I mean, if you're younger and you've got a lot of years on your hands, you can take a lot more of that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, yeah, the attitude is just completely different when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or especially when you're contributing into a plan. And people always look at that of, well, they think not just the growth of the returns on the investment, but also what they're putting into it. So.
Right, that's right. Here's the one that, I think viewers need to understand too, that, there's a lot of people out there that do what you call income planning, or they say they do income planning, right? And there's a lot of software that assists us in being able to do that. What kind of income do they want with inflation? But in every one of those plans, there's this what they call growth rate assumption, right? All right? I mean, it's going to say, okay, we're going to show 5, 6, 7% growth for 30 years, right? And then we're going to set you up on an income stream, and people think I'm all set, right? But what if they have one negative year like in 08?
Oh yeah, it'll
totally
devastate the whole plan.
Yeah. Anyway, we want to thank you for joining us today. If anything here in this show sparked an interest, if you have any questions, John or I would be glad to meet with you one-on-one and talk further about that. But again, thank you for joining us.